Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely flip how you look at India's water crisis. We're taking this from what usually sounds like just a grim environmental challenge and reframing it as what it really is, a massive, highly interconnected economic growth story. If you've been tracking global infrastructure, you already know water is a big deal. But the specific dynamics playing out in India right now, they're creating a structural investment opportunity that is honestly unlike anything we've seen. We are going to dig into exactly why India's water economy is growing so fast and where it's headed. So let's just dive right in. To really wrap our heads around the sheer scale of both the challenge and the opportunity here, we have to start with a pretty staggering reality. India supports roughly 18% of the entire global population. That is nearly 1 in 5 people on the planet. And obviously, all of them require water for daily life, for agriculture, and for the rapid urbanization happening across the country. But hold that 18% in your head, because here's the kicker. Despite having almost a fifth of the world's people, India possesses only about 4% of the world's renewable freshwater resources. It's just a stark, immediate contrast, right? You've got this immense, constantly growing human and industrial demand pressing down on a remarkably constrained natural resource base. Groundwater depletion, uneven rainfall, limited freshwater, it's all putting extreme pressure on the conventional ways of getting water. Which really begs the ultimate question. How on earth does a nation bridge this massive gap between soaring demand and severe natural scarcity? Because you can't just mandate water into existence, and you definitely can't just sit around waiting for the rain. It requires a fundamental, ground-up shift in how water is sourced, managed, and funded. Look, the answer isn't just digging deeper wells anymore. What we're actually looking at is a multi-year investment cycle. And it's being driven by 3 powerful converging forces. First, you have absolute scarcity pushing against those conventional sources. Second, the urgent need for new infrastructure. Think pipelines and massive treatment plants. And third, rising demand from urbanization and a booming manufacturing sector. Together, these 3 forces are exactly why India's water economy is growing. It guarantees that this isn't just some fleeting trend. It's a massive, multi-year structural growth cycle. Section 1. The massive policy push, building the infrastructure foundation. Obviously, a growth cycle this big has to start somewhere, and it starts with a massive, and I mean massive, influx of foundational capital from the government. We're talking about huge initiatives like the Jal Jeevan Mission for rural connectivity, AMRIT 2.0 for urban water security, Namami Gange for river rejuvenation, and PMKK for solar-powered pumping. But the really crucial takeaway here is the sheer scale of the financial commitment. The government recently extended the Jal Jeevan Mission through December 2028, and they put a revised outlay on it of approximately 8.69 lakh crore rupees. That is an incredible amount of capital, laying down the baseline infrastructure that completely new, specialized industries are going to thrive on. Section 2. Moving up the value chain, the interconnected ecosystem. Because of all that foundational investment, we kind of have to shift our perspective. We can't look at water as just a traditional, boring civil engineering industry anymore. It has morphed into this highly complex, interconnected economic ecosystem. If you follow a single drop of water through this new value chain, from the source to transport, treatment, usage, recycling, and finally reuse, you'll see capital and specialized innovation being injected at literally every single stage. We're moving way beyond basic extraction and pipes into advanced treatment, filtration, and smart distribution. And every one of those stages is a totally different investment opportunity. Section 3. From liability to resource, the paradigm shift in wastewater. Now, this interconnected chain brings us to honestly one of the most fascinating transformations in the entire sector. What happens after the water is used? Traditionally, we've always used a very linear model. You take fresh water, you consume it, you create waste, and you discharge it. Wastewater was treated purely as a liability, just a disposal problem. But now, we are witnessing a massive transition to an emerging circular model. Water is consumed, sure, but then it's treated, recycled, and reused. Because of that severe scarcity we talked about earlier, the economic value of treating water more than once has just skyrocketed. Wastewater is suddenly a highly valuable resource. So, what's really forcing this rapid shift? It's the boom in India's manufacturing. Rapid industrialization is creating its own massive capital expenditure cycle. Sectors like pharma, chemicals, steel, and electronics,
They need huge quantities of incredibly high-purity processed water. But it goes beyond just needing clean water. These factories are accelerating the need for advanced effluent treatment and zero liquid discharge, or ZLD solutions. ZLD literally means a closed-loop system where absolutely zero liquid waste leaves the plant. They have to recycle their industrial wastewater right back into their own operations. So India's industrial capex cycle is directly triggering a simultaneous water capex cycle.
As a result of this industrial push, the whole game has changed. It's no longer just about moving available fresh water from point A to point B. Now, you need serious technology to create usable water from previously unusable sources. We are talking about converting seawater to fresh water, taking raw sewage and turning it into reusable urban water, or taking toxic industrial effluent and turning it back into specialized process water. Businesses that specialize in this tech, like advanced membranes, ion exchange, and treatment chemicals, they are carving out a highly lucrative part of the value chain that is totally separate from your traditional civil infrastructure guys.
Section 4, Creating New Water, the Desalination Ecosystem. And in regions where conventional water sources are under the absolute most pressure, this technological push takes a really wild form. Think about India's extensive coastline, packed with massive populations and industrial centers. Down there, they are quite literally manufacturing new fresh water out of the ocean through desalination. But the big takeaway here is that a single desalination project isn't just one treatment plant. It actually spawns an entire supporting ecosystem. It requires specialized tech, advanced membranes, highly specific pumps and pipelines, dedicated power infrastructure, and constant operations and maintenance. It is literally a mini economy all on its own. Section 5, the ancillary opportunity, beyond the drop. Building out all these core water networks, whether it's a rural pipeline or a coastal desalination plant, is causing a huge chain reaction. It's opening up tremendous opportunities in ancillary industries you might not even associate with water right away. As these distribution networks get bigger, there is a sudden, surging demand for digital water management. You need smart metering just to measure consumption and stop losses. You need automation and SCADA systems, which are basically centralized digital control rooms, to monitor everything. And most importantly, you need sensors for real-time flow measurement and leakage detection to protect this incredibly valuable resource. The physical infrastructure is driving huge growth in the tech and service sectors too.
Section 6, the structural risks, navigating the current.
Okay, time for a quick reality check. As enthusiastic as the data makes us, we have to stay objective and look at the whole board. Just because there's a powerful structural theme doesn't mean every single company in this space is a guaranteed winner. This sector faces some very real headwinds. There's heavy dependence on municipal and state funding, which can lead to payment delays and, frankly, incredibly long working capital cycles that can dry up a company's cash flow. You've also got volatile commodity costs, like the price of steel or PVC, eating into project margins. Add in aggressive competitive bidding and the sheer complexity of executing these massive infrastructure projects, and, well, the quality of a company's business model becomes just as important as the size of the opportunity itself.
Section 7, the big picture. Scarcity creates necessity. So let's step back for a second and look at the grand narrative of this economic evolution we've been tracking today. India's water challenge is way too big to be solved by just one industry. It requires an entire ecosystem capable of finding, moving, treating, and reusing water efficiently. And it all follows a very simple, unyielding logic. Scarcity creates necessity. The absolute necessity of bridging the gap between a growing population and finite resources forces investment. And that multi-decade investment, that creates the infrastructure that will ultimately define the economy. I absolutely love how the source material sums this up with this defining quote: "The opportunity is not simply water scarcity, it is the investment required to solve it." The true story we are looking at isn't the crisis itself, it's the massive, unavoidable capital expenditure that simply must be deployed to overcome it. Which brings us to our final thought to ponder today. We've seen exactly how the mismatch between population and resources is forcing a complete technological and economic revolution. So, as this incredible, interconnected, circular ecosystem gets built out over the next decade, from those digital sensors all the way up to the zero liquid discharge plants, where will the true value of this new blue gold be captured? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep analyzing the data and never stop learning.